Meg looked again at the clock on the dashboard and again did the math in her head. She had 25 minutes to get home, take a shower, do something with her hair, and get Shane to the hockey banquet on the other side of town. It just was not going to happen. The traffic that she was sitting in was so stuck that people had started turning off their engines. But she refused. She thought that was just admitting defeat, and she was not going to let the universe win on this one. So she kept her engine running. A few minutes ago, a couple of ambulances had driven by on the shoulder, and the radio report said it was a serious accident. Several cars involved. So she felt guilty for being frustrated, and then she felt annoyed at feeling guilty. Maybe if she skipped the shower, that could save some time. She looked in the mirror at her hair and made a face. Hat? Maybe. Okay, it was time to start problem solving. Shane would just die if he missed this banquet. He was up for an award, and he had even borrowed one of Walt's ties. For crying out loud, so she was going to get him there one way or another. She fished her phone from her purse, flipped it open, and called home. He answered on the first ring. "Mom, where are you?" She explained, and he groaned. "Okay, no way are you stuck in traffic. Today, how am I going to get to the banquet?" "Don't panic," she said. "We'll solve this. How about a taxi?" He said, "Is there any money here anywhere?" She said, "No." Another groan. She said, "Call one of your friends who's going tonight." "Well, I can try, but they're probably already at the place." "What about Coach?" She said, "Well, we have his number somewhere." "Perfect," he said. "Hang on." She heard the receiver hit the table hard, and footsteps, and a minute later, Shane read the number to her, and she wrote it in the dust on the dashboard. "Okay," she said, "I'll call him. Don't panic. I will call you back as soon as I know something." Sigh. "Okay, I'll just sit here and panic." Or not panic. Sounds like a plan. She said, "I'm sorry, Shane, but I didn't plan this, and I couldn't predict it, could I?" "No. I know. I love you." She said, "I love you too." "Mom," she said, "yeah? What if we call Dad?" She said, "I am not that desperate. Let me try. Let me hang up and try some things." "Okay, bye." They hung up. Call Dad. Yeah. All right. Coach's number went to the machine. There was no point in leaving a message. He'd probably gone already. There was no answer at her mom's. She must still be at Aunt Abby's house. Joyce, what are sisters for after all? But Joyce's machine picked up too, and Meg thought, well, she might be home anyway. But she hadn't answered the phone herself for a couple of weeks since she'd broken her jaw on a bike accident, and it would be wired shut for a while still. But Meg left a message and hoped Joyce would call back. Who else? Who else was there? All the numbers in her phone were work people and people that she lost touch with since the divorce. She started deleting those, but that was too depressing, so she stopped. It was probably easier to just get a new phone. She swore, punched the steering wheel hard. This was starting to get to her. She thought, how nice it would be right now to have an excuse to give somebody the finger, but road rage wasn't a viable option when you're sitting still. So she threw the phone down on the seat beside her, laid her head back against the headrest, took a deep breath, and thought about relaxing. She could do this. She could do this. She could figure this out. It was just a matter of clear thinking and calm. She started to recite the credo that her counselor had taught her. I am strong, and I have within myself all I need to accomplish my goal. I am strong, and I have within me everything I need to accomplish my goals. Deep, cleansing breath. I am strong, and I have it within myself to punch a hole in the roof of this stupid car, climb through it, stand on top, and fly away. Deep, cleansing breath. This was not helping. She grabbed the phone and tried hers again. Machine. Mom. No answer. Coach. Machine. Pathetic. How had she become this person? She didn't want to be this person. 38 years old, stuck in traffic, self-deluded and effectively friendless. Too busy being strong, not needing anybody. Especially not him. Tony, just call Dad. Yeah, great idea. Except they hadn't spoken in, 3 years now? 2? She was not going to be the one to break radio silence. No one. Not that he was a villain or anything. He'd never been mean. He was just Tony. And she'd got to the point where she'd had enough of that. And she'd left. And she'd done really well on her own. There were some definite advantages to being single and even being a single parent. And it had been fine because she had been strong. People kept saying, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. And she'd say, thanks. She'd let them know. And after a while, they'd stopped asking. She'd never regretted her choice. Well, hardly ever. Once in a while, when she was tired, it would have been nice to just have somebody else be the strong one for a while. Just a shoulder to lean on, like now, sitting in traffic, smelling cars and impatience, under low gray clouds that just sat there like the cars, like the whole world just sitting there. And she remembered something. A day like this. How long ago was that? 20 years? At least. She'd been a student, living in Toronto, working part-time. Work was boring and graduation was still a year away. She had to take the bus everywhere. She hated taking the bus. They never seemed entirely clean. This one day she'd been on her way home. It was a gray, hot, humid evening, kind of like this one. Everything was faded and damp and grubby, and everybody seemed faded and damp and grubby. She climbed down the bus and got a seat in the middle, squeezed into one of those ones that face sideways, so every time the bus starts or stops, you get pushed into the person next to you, which was uncomfortable in so many ways. And buses are such a personal space nightmare anyway. Nobody spoke. The smart ones wore headphones to discourage anybody who didn't understand the rules from trying to start a conversation. But most communication was just body language. Shoulders slightly hunched, face turned down, both feet planted on the ground, hands in your lap. And the bus smelled like a bus. Like exhaust and hot aluminum and vinyl that had been sat on for too long. Like feet and clothing and sweat and breath. Like something else that maybe you didn't want to try too hard to identify because then you have to wonder where it was coming from. The overall sensation was one that left you wanting to go home and wash out your sinuses. Just a whole lot of people who wished that all the others weren't there. And so many cubic feet of air that wished it was somewhere else. Out of the corner of her eye, Meg noticed a woman starting to dig in her bag on her lap. And, it wasn't terribly exciting, but there was nothing else to look at. So Meg watched as the woman pulled out an orange. What happened next? She was never quite able to describe. As the woman's fingernails tore into the orange peel, the world just changed color. Fresh orange peel has that smell, that sharp, clean knife blade of a smell, alive and bright. And it penetrates and gets behind your eyes and into your brain, and that smell blew through the bus. It transformed that poor old air and caught every tired gray person by surprise. Meg smiled, remembering the tennis match effect of so many heads turning in unison to watch the woman's brown fingers against the bright orange peel, making such magic, bringing a dead day back to life. That smell. She had taken a deep breath and realized that the orange in that woman's hands had somehow awakened a bit of her that she didn't realize had fallen asleep. And she thought it might be joy. The memory of that moment really made her cry. Why? Why remember that now? Where on earth did that come from? She felt like somebody was trying to tell her something, but she couldn't figure out what exactly or who. It was a message that needed to be decoded, but it softened something in her that she didn't realize had become so hard. She turned off the engine. The silence was actually kind of nice, and she sat for a minute listening to the message that she didn't quite understand. She picked up her phone. She tried Joyce one more time. Nothing. Mom. Nothing. Coach. Nothing. She scrolled down the list of numbers, looking for one in particular, almost hoping it wasn't there. But it was. She ran her fingers through her hair, down the back of her neck, and said, "Okay, help." And she hit dial. He answered, and she said, "Hi, Tony, it's Meg. Shane, I need your help."